Now, like I mentioned in my last video, I wasn't too 100% convinced that I did the proper testing with the ruby red. Kind of like the transparent red, but I think maybe the ruby red needs to be given a second chance. Now, I did prime it with the original parts. I primed it with black, which we know that wouldn't work. Then I reprimed it with primer, using this one. This is gray primer. And the results were not too 100% good, like as you see right here. So I said to myself, let me try this again, but this time I want to try a different approach. And somebody mentioned that I should prime it white. So I did not have any more regular gloss white, and I went to Gundam Planet. Those guys have always been helpful with me. And I picked up a gloss white from Mr. Hobby. However, I saw this, and I said to myself, maybe this is what I need. So I picked up this Mr. Base White 1000. I can't tell if this is a gloss base. I know it's acrylic, but I said to myself, let me try this and see if this works. Now, I'm not going to use the same part as before. I found another spare part. I'm going to use this little shield thing. Don't know what kit it was from, but let me try this. So I got my test sample here. I'll give it a go at. Let me just give it a little brat. I primed it, I mixed it up with thinner, did a 50-50 coat. Now, I think this was probably from one of my older F91 kits, because it has a tinge of like a, what do you call it, like a light, very, very super light green. Unfortunately, the camera is not going to show off the quality of this. I just want to give it a coat on this, so that way we can then paint it the next color. Okay, so now that it's been primed white, I'm going to try this, but continually reading some information about the ruby red, somebody suggested that I should have sprayed the ruby red over the chrome. So I'm going to do half of this. I'm going to spray half of this shield the chrome. I know I should have been painted black, but let's just try this for now. So I'm going to paint half of the shield chrome. Doesn't have to be pretty, but you see there. Okay, so now that this is dried up, I got the ruby red here again. Excuse me, the candy ruby red. Let's see what happens. sprayed this part, you can tell that, I guess, a part that's been primed, the paint seems to not collect pretty well, or doesn't dry pretty well fast. However, on a chrome back, a part that's been already chromed, it is nicely even and sprayed pretty well. This is far better than the, you're gonna have to forgive me, I can't find where I put the other shield that I painted. This is far better than the Trans Am version. Excuse me. Than the transparent red that I sprayed on top of this, on top of the other part beforehand. Yeah, you know what? And taking a normal red part, I'm not fond of this because of how this paint is collected. But this one came out perfect. I hope you guys can see this on camera pretty well. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to do this. Alright, so now this is my new plan. I'm gonna prime all the red parts white, then I'm gonna chrome paint it, and then I'm gonna paint it the ruby red. I think I kind of like this format better. What do you guys think? Okay, so as you can see, I've finished priming all of the red parts using my Mr. Base White 1000. I really like this. This came out pretty nice. It's nice and smooth. I always keep forgetting that airbrushing primer is far better than actually spray painting it primer. Spray paints, you have to, you know, control yourself a bit, and then you also run the risk of the paint collecting up in a specific area, and then you gotta sand it down, whatever. But airbrushing primer is a lot better, and I really like how the white is shining on this. It has a nice clean coat over it. Some parts that I have began like heavily sanding down, just so I can remove the nubs and everything else. You don't see this in the priming part. So that came out all right. Like, this one came out really nice. This is of course the thigh leg, and here's the back, the portion of the thrusters in the back. You just got to review each and every one of them, because sometimes when you airbrush, when you actually spray paint primer or regular spray painting or airbrushing, molecules like little floating hair will get caught, or a little, you know, like dust, and then you have to like wipe it off a bit so that way it looks okay. But other than that, it looks pretty damn good. Yes, pretty good. So now I'm going to move on to the next stage, and that is of course airbrushing all these parts. Another layer of Alclad, only one of the Alclad paints that I have. And in my previous video that you saw, I was going to airbrush. I airbrushed the that shield using chrome. However, I'm running out of chrome, so I decided to go to the hobby store, and I was looking at alternatives. As a matter of fact, what I did was I went to Alclad 2's website and how to spray paint the candy-coated color ruby red onto these parts. Clearly, the gloss black is not a good idea. It's not going to work. It needs a lighter base tone. Now, I showed you guys the test piece, and clearly it needed like a silver coat or a shiny coat under it. So I decided to try something different, and I found this one, which looks like it's going to fit the bill, and that is this. This is polished aluminum. number ACL-105, polished aluminum. Like the chrome, it's really shiny. I don't know what effect this will do onto these parts, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a light spray, so that way it show, I don't want to overpressure the airbrush, so I want to give it a light spray on each of these parts and see what it does. As a matter of fact, let's test one out right now. Alright, so let's test this little piece out, see what results we got. Again, I have a little bit of Alclad polished aluminum. I'm going to give it a little air, and then again I'm going to do small strokes and a little light pressure on this. You may be feeling tempted of pulling the rocker a bit more. Resist the temptation and just apply it to your part evenly. Nice shiny coat here, and here is the other part as an example. That's pretty nice. Not too strong, but let's hope we can add, get the effect that we're looking for. Let's try another one. The parts are nice and clean. There's no residue on it. Let's try that again. Remember guys, since Alclad paints are not thick like regular paints, you don't have to thin it out. These things are pre-thinned already. See that properly, so let's do that. Come on, focus. There we go. Alright. So give me some time while I paint all these parts, and then we'll move on to the next portion of this video.